Welcome to the Creative Chats Podcast with Mike Brennan. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Creative Chats. It's the podcast for artists, makers, and content creators where we talk about creativity, the creative process, and story. I'm your host, Mike Brennan. You can connect with me on my website, which is mikebrennan.me. And over there, I have a host of resources with you in mind. I've created these things for you as fellow creative people because I know what it's like to struggle with either not having inspiration or not being able to prioritize time and not seeing the results that you want to see on the creative projects that you've been meaning to and desiring to get traction on. And it's time. It's time for you to choose yourself. It's time for you to choose your creativity, for you to make those things that you see in your head and that are in your heart and to get them out into the world, to start seeing the results of the work that you want to do and need to do for this world. So there are things like the Daily Creative Habit Journal that I've created, which is a 90-day sprint for you that is self-guided, basically helps you track and measure, set intention, and take action on your creative projects. Because so often it's hard to know, are we really making progress? Is there really anything happening? Is there any growth that's happening? And so this tool is designed for you to be able to really dial in and lock in on that so that you know what's happening. You can see some results and then you can be encouraged because you want to do more and you'll keep showing up. Things like that, things like this podcast are labors of love where I come and have these conversations and provide them as a way to encourage you on your own creative journey. I also have some other resources like Make Fun a Habit, my book that talks about recapturing some of the joy and the fun that we used to have when we were kids, when things were more pure and things were easier for us to just do because it was natural. We did things because we enjoyed it. And so often our creativity becomes something other. It becomes something that is perhaps part of our livelihood. We tie expectations to it and it gets heavy and it gets murky and it gets not fun. And so if that speaks to you, I want to invite you to pick up a copy of my book, Make Fun a Habit. There are 30 chapters in there that introduce some practical ways and give you some questions to ask about your own fun and process and creativity to see how you might be able to inject some more fun into your work and your life. You can buy that on Amazon as well as get that on my website, which is mikebrennan.me. Now for today's episode, I get to share with you a recent message that I gave at the Thing Nashville conference. And it's a message called I Am Color. It's about you showing up as yourself, authentically you. And we need more people showing up as themselves, knowing who they are, knowing what their values are, knowing what they bring to this world, and then doing that with intention and purpose. And so today I get to share kind of a manifesto that I created for myself first and foremost. And then I want to share it with you because I believe that it's not just me. It's not just I am color, but I think you are color as well. And when you show up in the vibrancy of your true color, that's when things really start to take off. You start to feel more aligned and clear about the things that you want to do and how you want to do them. People start resonating with you and the work that you do. And I challenge people in this talk and I say, maybe it's not so much about reach. It's not about going viral as much as it is about resonance. That is creating things where other people see and hear themselves in your work. And then reach will start to take care of itself. So sit back, relax, enjoy this talk that I gave at the Thing Nashville conference called I Am Color. Now, hopefully on your table you have crayons, yes, and you have some sheets. It says I Am Color Manifesto. Feel free to color if you like while I'm speaking. That's fine. I'm the creative guy, so I give you permission. But here's what I want you to do. Before you start coloring, I want you to take a crayon. I want you to hold it in your hand. I want you to close your eyes, put it up to your nose, inhale, right? Are you going back to childhood now? You can open your eyes. Do you remember being a kid with a box of crayons and a coloring page and just being told, have fun. Go ahead. Just color. Who had a favorite color here? Did you have a favorite color in the crayon? What was your favorite color? Purple. Green? Anybody else? Electric green? Orange, yes. Mine was ultra blue. It was like this highly saturated blue. It wasn't just blue, it was ultra blue. And I just love that crayon to death. As a matter of fact, I had this tin of crayons. Maybe you have this in your home too. And maybe it wasn't a tin, maybe it was just a box, Tupperware, I don't know. But that's where all the crayons lived. Once they were kind of like a little mangled, broken, you peeled the side off of the paper because it got down too far. Maybe you didn't have the box with the cool sharpener in it, right? Things snapped. It just was like, who knows what's going on in that container. But that's where you kept all your crayons. And you would always go to that and just grab them and use them and go nuts coloring. And it was fun. You were expressing. It was amazing because nobody was really telling you what you could or couldn't do, other than maybe don't color outside the lines. But mostly, you were expressing. You were choosing colors. You were maybe pressing really hard and crayons were snapping, or you were going really light. Maybe you put something under your paper and you did like that kind of rubbing thing where you got some pattern, right? I remember doing that. My grandmother's house, she had like this lace doily thing. I had no idea what it was, but I just put paper on top of it and I started kind of getting that rubbing of the pattern. I remember that vividly. And it was awesome. The thing about our time with crayons is that it's not about perfection, it's about permission. It's permission to express. It's permission to play. It's permission to just be you, long before anyone told you not to be you. Somebody told me something, and this was really something that I sat with for a minute, because when they said this to me, I was like, this is an odd statement. They said, Mike, you don't just use color, you are color. Now, I know if you're looking at me right now, you're like, yes, because I'm wearing a shirt that's like all these colors, my sneakers, very colorful, the artwork that I do, highly saturated, colorful. But that's not what she was talking about. It was this sense of me showing up, being color, not just using color. Like color wasn't just a tool. And it made me pause long enough to ask the question of like, why did this person say this? What is it about me that they saw that made them say that? And made me stop to think, is this something I need to pay attention to? And to be honest with you, I remember being the kid coloring, and obviously artwork has been my entire life. Creativity has been my entire life. But even with that, there was the season where, especially being from New York, everyone wears black. Dark color. It's muted. And it was blending in, even as a creative person. And although no one told me you can't wear those things, you can't use those colors, somehow that got into my mind and my practice, where even through some life circumstances, my colors got muted. Like you go through some painful crap, and it's hard to maintain vibrancy. Pain has a way of diluting. And I found myself in this place where I just kind of felt like I lost some of my color. And I didn't even realize it. And I didn't start really wearing these kind of things or embracing my full color spectrum until maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And that's sad, especially as someone who says they're a creative person. Because it's easy to forget. It's easy to be molded by what's happening around you. And those voices from around you change what happens on the inside. What we're really talking about here is essence. That's what this person was talking about when they said to me, Mike, you are color. Essence is when you boil something down to the core. When it's the things that are important to you, the values that you hold, who you really are, authenticity, being real. That's what we're kind of talking about here. And we're talking about it in terms of color, yes, but I don't want you to miss this, because even if you feel like, look, dude, your color's cool for you, but Like a blind man can see you coming. I would never wear that. Like, no way. That's fine. I'm not asking you to wear things like me, to use the colors I use. But what I am saying is, can we pause and ask the question, what does that look like for you? The thing is, so many times, what shapes us in how we want to show up is what we do, who we serve, and how we want to be seen. All these things that can wear away, actually, at us sitting with ourselves asking, but who am I really? What is it that really is important to me? How is it that I need to show up? Instead of a lot of these external things. The truth is that sometimes we start to lose the most important thing on this journey, ourselves. Like maybe you've been in a situation where you are trying to figure out the best next strategy. You know you have an issue, you know you have problems to solve. And so what do? You start looking around for people who have gone before you so that you can implement some of their strategies. Have you ever been in the position, though, where you've paid money, you've gone through programs, you've done all the things, you get to the end of it, you try and apply it, and you feel like, this isn't working. And then you start asking the question of, is it me? Is it the person? Is there something else happening? Like, I don't even understand. So you repeat the process again. You go to somebody else. You buy somebody else's program. You go through a whole other thing, and you're spending all this time, energy, money, everything on all these strategies that don't really seem to work. And honestly, I think a lot of times what we really want, if we're honest with ourselves, is we want the easy way out. We want to find somebody else who's done something, take their blueprint, and slap it over our experience, our journey, our business, and then call it a day. Because they figured it out. They're giving me the keys, the answers. I can just superimpose that right on top of what's happening with me, and then things will be great. But the problem is every time we try to do that, there's this disconnect. There are these places where it's like, that doesn't really feel like me. That doesn't really align with what is happening in my business or where I want to go or what I'm doing. And as a result, we can lose ourselves. And that's a hard place to be. When you wake up one day and realize, like, I'm not me anymore. I'm spending so much of my time chasing trends, trying methodologies that everyone else around me is telling me, but I haven't actually sat still long enough with myself to figure out the deeper things. And it's easy to keep busy. It's easy to keep trying things. It's so hard to sit still with yourself and ask the deeper, harder questions. I came across this article, which I found fascinating. It's scientists unveiled this new color called Olo. I think that's how you pronounce it. Brand new color. Humans have never seen this before. It's an electric blue-green color. And I was like, what? I need to see this, like right now. I need to use this in my work, right? So I started reading this article a little bit more, and it's like these 7 scientists. They're the only ones who have seen it because it's like right outside of the ability of us to see this color. And so they had to kind of enhance a lens to be able to look at this color. And I thought to myself, I'm like, there are like so many colors. I mean, even, the 64 box crayon set, that's pretty good. I mean, there's more than this, if you go for like the gigantic ones, but there are so many colors, there are so many shades and hues, there's so much that you can use at your disposal. And all of a sudden now they're finding another one? And the fact that only 7 people have seen it? And then I thought about it and I'm like, it's real. They discovered it, but only a few people have seen it. For us, it kind of seems invisible. We can read an article about it, but we can't see it. I kind of feel like sometimes that's us. Like we're showing up the best that we can, but we feel invisible. We're real, but we're not seen. And it's so hard to be in that place where you feel like you're trying to do all the right thing, and it's just invisibility. And that can really mess with us and make us do things that are not true to who we are and how we should be showing up in this world. It makes us go on these rabbit trails. And then we end up more frustrated. The truth is that maybe the goal isn't to increase our reach, but maybe it's resonant. Like it's not so much, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. But what if we ask the question of, if I figured out that thing that was really important to me, those values that are really important to me, and I figured out how I really needed to show up, what my color is, and I was more me than trying to copy and model, would people actually see me more? Because something about how I show up and what I start talking about starts coming out more, and there's resonance. It's not an easy thing, but I think there's something here to explore. I mean, the truth is, when you are color, you're not defined by what you make, but by how you show up. And what I mean by this is, so often we get so tied to what the particulars are of what we're doing that we forget who we are as a person doing those things. The saddest thing I've seen is that time and again, especially the more technology increases and AI is embraced and change happens across employment, industries are changing. Jobs are going away. People who have said, this is what I do, and they've sunk everything into that, and that goes away. That is a devastating place to be, because then all of a sudden, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what to do. And suddenly I feel left behind, discarded, told that my use is done. But when you start to uncover actually who are you as the person doing those things, what's really important to you, what's the through line? You're the through line. And if you can think about what those things are, identify what those are, and then start to move in those things, you can move in and out of projects and some work things that if they change or opportunities go away, it doesn't cripple you. I ended up being challenged with this thought of what can resonance look like for me deeper? More than just me going, hey, here's the artwork that I'm doing. Hey, here's what I'm talking about. Here's what's happening in my life on social media. How can I start to talk about things that actually make people sit up and go, wow, like maybe nobody else is talking about that stuff or talking about the way that you're talking. This is my newest book. I wasn't planning on writing and illustrating this book. It's called Glue, a story of letting go. And while it looks like a kid's book on the inside, it's a fable. It's a story that I didn't want to tell because I didn't want to live it. I'd gone through this really painful experience, and I wrote this in the notes section on my phone because I needed to process pain. And to be honest with you, it sat on my phone for three and a half years as a reminder to me about this painful experience that I went through of me trying to make sense of this. And I didn't really think that this was for anybody but me. And isn't that so often the case when we go through something, especially when it's painful, and we think, man, I don't know if I can talk about this. I don't know if I can share this. Like if I say this out loud, there's a level of admitting something even to myself that I don't know if I want to go with. What if I'm seen as weak? What if there's so much shame around what it is that I've experienced that I don't want to be seen like that by other people because I'm wrestling with seeing myself in the midst of, that kind of stuff, that kind of level of, this feels too risky. This is too much. And about a month and a half ago, I kept feeling this urge, for lack of a better word, that I needed to do something with this story, that it needed to come off of my phone and get out into people's hands. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to just do what I do. This is my 8th book, so I know the process, rinse and repeat that. But there was something very vulnerable about this that I was worried. I was worried because I'm the guy who talks about creativity. I'm the guy who talks about fun. I'm the guy with the colors and all that. But this is painful. This is messy. This is maybe inviting questions that maybe I don't have answers to, questions that I don't really want to answer for myself and certainly not for anybody else. But I sat there, and it was the question of, are you willing to step into this moment where what you've been through can be redeemed, not just for yourself, but maybe for somebody else? And I've lived enough life and gone through enough things that I know that if I have to go through something, I want it to be redeemed, not just for me, but for other people. And so I've started over the years practicing more of this open-handedness, more of this vulnerability. This was more of a leap and a step, but I was like, I need to do this. So here it is, blue. You can get it on Amazon. I have copies here even. It's out there in the world. And the more that I started to lean into it, the more that I started to talk about the story behind the story and some of the experiences in this, the painful process of letting go, of dealing with change. It's a story about a boy and a caterpillar, and they meet, and they're friends, and then the caterpillar disappears. And the boy's like, what happened? And it's years later, I won't spoil the whole story, but years later, he meets a butterfly and realizes that there was this journey that was happening, this transformation that was happening, this story that was unfolding. And while he was in the midst of it, it didn't make sense. It's that stuff. It's that gut level. It's that stuff when you're sitting with someone who's going through something and it's you and them having these heart-to-heart conversations. That's the stuff that I want to enter into. Not because I like pain, but because I want to see hope, not just for myself, but for others. I want to see some redemption in some of these experiences and some of the things that, quite honestly, if I don't talk about these, no one would know. And that's fine. But it's far better for me, especially right now, where I feel like this is where I need to go. I need to be having these conversations. I need to be sharing these things. And you know what's happened? It's amazing. And I'm not sharing this to be like a bragging thing or whatever, but over the past couple of months, I've had social media comments like this. So often, you are my voice. What? That's not like, hey, buy my book. Hey, buy my art. It's me sharing something that is really vulnerable. And someone seeing it and going, I see myself in that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that because you've put words around something that I couldn't. Another friend, sometimes I swear you're reading the thoughts that run through my mind. Resonance. When people are leaning forward because there's like something different is happening there. Somebody sees me. Somebody understands me. And I'm not talking about like, hey, again, this isn't like a book strategy campaign thing. This is me just going like, I need to be sharing this stuff. Now, what's happening is that it's forming connections. It's forming deeper relationships. It's causing people to contact me and to DM me and say, thank you so much because I've been through something and I've been carrying it for so long and I didn't know that I was the only person. I thought that was it. I didn't know what to do with this. Thank you for being brave enough to say something, to go first. Another friend, every time I see something you posted aligns with what's going on in my own life, so I'm here for it. If no one has told you today, keep doing what you're doing. It's changing lives. Like, I couldn't get that kind of feedback on my best days, but something shifted. I stopped trying to focus so much on the reach, and I focused more on the resonance. How can people see themselves in what it is that I'm doing? How can they see themselves in me and my experiences? And then whatever it is that I do, they'll be like, yeah, I'm with him. Maybe it's a different project for a different person, but it's making that connection that forms that bond where someone says, thank you, you've seen me, you hear me, and yeah, I am so ready to buy whatever it is that you're offering, to go in on whatever services that you have. Because you didn't just throw it out there in this salesy way. You talk about things that are important to you because you know your color. And you're willing to use it. So I want to just round the corner here and ask you to ask this. How can I show up as color today for you? And I'm not saying my color. I'm not saying a specific color. Notice that there is a whole lot of colors in this box. Sometimes you're in a season, we've heard from this, you're in a season where it is blue, where there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of brokenness, there's a lot of hurt. And that's the color that you have in your hand. And you say, how can I show up in that color today? Not bleeding on people with unprocessed pain, but being honest. And maybe talking about some of the things that are your frustration points, your experience around certain things where it's an invitation for people. Maybe it's red, because there's some things that make you really angry. And you're like, this shouldn't be. Maybe whatever it is that you make, your industry, there's something happening and you're like, this is an injustice. This is stupid. This is wrong. And red is your color right now. And you're showing, just be red. I don't know what that is for you right now, but I think if we started being more color, we would so get beyond the latest trends. And I'm not saying don't try things. Don't hear me say I'm speaking against strategy. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is know yourself. Sit with yourself long enough to know what's important to you, who you are, what your color is, before you go trying to start all these strategies. Because you will spend years and a ton of money chasing your tail otherwise, and always feel like something's missing, something's broken, something's not working. For some of us, that invisible color, Olo, that's us. And it's not us for other people, it's actually us for ourselves. Like, are you invisible to yourself? Have you seen yourself, like truly? Do you know yourself enough? Have you spent enough time asking the hard questions? Practicing self-awareness, not just keeping busy. So how can we show up? The first thing I want to say is turn up your hue. Do you know what hue is? Maybe not if you're not an artist. Maybe you've heard the term before, but it's undiluted pigment. It's like when you take a tube of paint and you just open it and put it right on a palette and start using it. You're not mixing it with anything. You're not toning it down. It's just straight, pure pigment. Be that. Your version of that. And again, I'm not talking like bright colors if you're more muted, but what I am saying is be intentional about what that looks like for you, how to show up. Let it sound, look, and feel more like you in the way that you deal with people, in the way, whether that's in person or online. Let it look and sound more like you in what you create in your business, so that you're not simply just trying to copy somebody else's thing. Turn up the hue, because no one else is like you. The second thing, reflect your light. You know, color does an amazing thing, especially when you put certain colors next to each other. Sometimes they vibrate. Like if you've ever put green and red next to each other, you know, it's usually like, oh, those are the Christmas colors. There's this vibrancy that happens, and all of a sudden, like this light happens where you're just, man, stuff starts activating. Ask someone who's close to you, maybe someone who works with you, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's somebody in this room. Ask them, what do you feel when I walk into a room? What is the energy that I bring when I come into a room? Like, know what that is. Don't just guess, but ask people, because someone may tell you something that you're unaware of. Man, when you come into this room, you bring a boldness. You need to lean more into that. When you come into a room, you create space for people and you're able to listen, not talk over people, not try to get your point across, but you sit there and you listen. And that's so rare today. For each one of us, it's probably something different, but use the people around you because they already know if you don't. And once we know what that is, we can do it with intention and purpose. The last thing, create from where you are, not where you wish you were. This is a hard one, especially when you don't like where you are. There's this tension. You're in the gap. And can I just be honest? I think somebody mentioned this earlier. There is this tendency for us as people, and I think it's because we want to be seen in the best light possible, to posture. The amount of posturing I see on social media is ridiculous. And people who say certain things that they're like, man, this is what my life looks like. This is what my business looks like. Everything is great. Follow me, buy from me. This is great. And you don't really know the story behind that. You know, we joke and we say, yeah, that's when you find out like that car, that's not actually their car. They were like driving on the street and they're like, quick, it's a photo op. Let's get out. Let's do this. Let's make it look like we're telling a great story. Because that's honestly all it is a story. There's posture. Or people who are like trying to, what ends up happening is we compare ourselves to that. Even we know that this is stupid. And we go, look at them though. They seem like they've got it all together. They seem so much further along than where we are. And it causes us to feel more frustrated and maybe even sometimes want to give up. And the truth is, if we were to sit with that person and they were honest with us, they would say, you know what, actually, my business isn't really doing that great. And the reason why I can do what I can do is because I have a spouse who actually makes the money that we need in our household. Now, I'm not sharing that story online. I'm making it look like, and I'm killing it. There are more of those stories than you would think. But nobody's sharing those stories because those stories don't position people into a way that looks like a position of power. And sometimes there's some shame there because it's like, how am I going to show up and talk about some things that I'm not even really fully convinced of or sure of? And now it's tied to my business, and I'm supposed to be talking to other people about this stuff, seen as the quote expert, when meanwhile, I just feel like a fraud. But let's not talk about that. Just buy from me so I can build my business and things will be great. Create from where you are. If you're experiencing a struggle in something, again, don't bleed on people, but be honest. The amount of people that I have talked to recently that have been going through some things that are extremely painful, and maybe they're willing to share it with me more because I'm leading the way, opening up conversations that are vulnerable, but they're like, I lost my job. Maybe, and it was somebody else who was like, I lost my job a couple of years ago, and I've been in this broken system of trying to apply for jobs with AI checking things and people saying, don't use AI for your cover letters and all the rest of the things to create your resume, but the other side is using all AI. And it's this lopsided thing, and there's not enough jobs to go around the thing, and they're just frustrated. And they're feeling the pinch, and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do because I have a mortgage. Other people who are wrestling with health issues. Other people with relationship issues. Like, there is stuff going on. And again, I'm not talking about bleeding on people publicly. But what I am saying is start creating some conversations, some opportunities, some invitations in the things that maybe whatever seems risky for you, whatever seems like it's vulnerability for you, practice it where you are now. Create from where you are now, not just where you want to be. And I guarantee you will have conversations that you're not having currently. Because people will go, man, that person's doing something different. Or I see myself in them. I feel like I can trust them because they understand. I want to end with this you have on your table that you've probably been coloring in right now. The manifesto. We opened our day with a manifesto, the Thing Manifesto. And I think it's fitting that we kind of close with a manifesto. I wrote this as I was thinking about what that person told me of saying that I was color and I didn't just use color. And I'm going to just read an abbreviated version of this. But I want to challenge you to take your coloring page with you. Put it somewhere where you can see it to remind yourself that you are color. Not just me being a creative person, an artist. Every single one of us. We are all color. I am color. I don't just use color. I am color. I bring pigment and presence. I'm bold and saturated and soft. I'm not chasing identity. I carry it. My color brings warmth, spark, invitation, and truth. I create atmosphere. I change space. I am evolving, but I do not fade. I reflect, I absorb, I shine. I am color, and I show up. Our role is not to blend, but it's to bring. It's to bring color, it's to bring ourselves, it's to show up. And remember, don't chase your identity, carry it. When you know who you are, when you know what your values are, you know what's important to you, carry that into all the things in your life, your personal life, your work life, everywhere you show up. That is who you are. That is what happens. That is what it means to be color. So go out because you are color. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for listening today. I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, leave a rating and a review. It really helps this podcast be seen and heard by others.